الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا وطيبا مباركا فيه صلوات الله والسلام على النبي الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلوات الله والسلام عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to begin, inshallah, a series of talks here every 2 weeks. We're going to leave the decision of what the talk's going to be about to you brothers after the presentation that we're going to make to right now, inshallah azza wa jal. And for the time being, for today, I just want to deal with the issue that has been posted and advertised. And that is the question, why are the Muslims, why is this Ummah in a situation of subjugation, in a condition of being lowly, downtrodden, and under the foot of those people who oppose the religion of Islam. Many times we find people, especially people motivated by politics, talking about this issue, but it comes from emotions more than anything else. Today's presentation is not from that angle. From the angle of what's been established in the Kitab and what's been established from the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam, taslim kathira, and there are many issues. In actuality, we were invited to do a similar discussion about this topic in Luton last week, I believe it was, and we got through about 5 or 6 issues. There are many issues that are on the table from the Kitab and the Sunnah. Why is it that this Ummah is in a situation of a dhillatu, situation of being dhalila, being downtrodden, beneath, below, under, abased, and so forth and so on? Should be an issue that concerns the Muslim community. It's not an issue that is in the theory, but it's an issue that is on the reality of our waqi', our condition, our situation. And as I mentioned, there are many. From the top of the list is what Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in the Kitab and the Prophet as well, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the most fundamental and basic issue in the religion, and that is the Ummah of Islam is under subjugation due to the fact that it makes a shirk billah azza wa jal. I see in the audience, you people from different parts of the world, where you all come from, there's a lot of shirk and there's a lot of kufr going on. When we say shirk and kufr, we don't mean just an individual taking something other than Allah along with other than Allah to worship, because that's there, but shirk and kufr in its many manifestations, and there are many. The shirk of Allah Azza wa Jal in making the Prophet or other people from the awliya equal with Allah Azza wa Jal. The shirk of magic, the shirk of swearing by other than Allah, the shirk and ishraq of many issues. This comes and shows us the importance of studying books and studying like simple books as a community, as individuals, like the book Kitab al-Tawheed, like the book Nawaqid of al-Islam, those things that nullify a person's Islam. Shirk and kufr is prevalent in this ummah. In authentic hadith, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that the hour will not be established until his ummah begins to make shirk again. And he gave some other hadith that gives some of those examples of a shirk. But what we'll show from the Kitab is what Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-A'raf, ayat number 152. Allah Ta'ala mentioned what happened with Bani Israel. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا الْإِجْلَ سَيُنَالَهُمْ غَضَبٌ مِّن رَّبِّهِمْ وَذِلَّةٌ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُفْتِرِينَ. Those people who took the calf as a god along with Allah, they're going to be afflicted and they're going to be hit in the hayat of the dunya with being low and being lowly. Allah mentioned this is how we deal with those people who lie. Those people who make an iftira. And an iftira in this issue, in this particular ayat, is the fact that a cow, a baby cow, has something to do with the creation of the heavens and the earth, or the right to be worshipped, or other than that, as what happened with Bani Israel. So the ayat clearly shows that those people with Bani Israel, Allah Ta'ala used those exact words, that they were going to be hit with ghadab from Allah Azza wa Jal and dhillatun, which is lowliness as a result of that. That's just one of the many ayat that deal with Bani Israel and other than Bani Israel. Another ayat of the Quran that shows and proves what happened to Bani Israel, and as the Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you people are going to follow Bani Israel and everything they did. Handspan by handspan, arm span by arm span, to the fact if they were into a religious hole, there would be people from this Ummah who wanted to do the same thing. But he mentioned another surah in the Quran. He mentioned, Duribat alayhim al-dhillatun. Duribat alayhim al-dhillatun aynama thuqifu. إلا بحبل من الله وحبل من الناس وباءوا بغضب من الله وضربت عليهم المسكنة ذلك بأنهم كانوا يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون الأنبياء بغير حق وبما كانوا عصوا كانوا يعتدون. And what happened with Bani Israel is when those individuals begin to disbelieve in the ayat of Allah, kufr, as-shirk, and when they began to kill the prophets and the messengers, which is another form of kufr and shirk. When that happened, they were overwhelmed, they were given to be abased and to be low, except in circumstances in which they had a contract with Allah Azza wa Jal, as Bani Israel used to have contracts with Allah Azza wa Jal, or they had a contract with the other people, and Allah exempted them from that particular punishment in that case, and verily they had a grievous punishment. So that's the first issue, Ikhwani. The fact that people will make ishraq billahi ta'ala. Now, as we mentioned many times, you go into any of the local masjids in this country, without any exception, in any city in this country, for an individual to believe that he can make dua to the Prophet ﷺ by saying Ya Rasulullah, Ya Nabi Allah, or anything other than that. The Prophet is omnipotent, omnipresent. The Nabi never died. Rasulullah ﷺ can hear the dua of people. That is shirkum billahi. So instead of an individual getting up and jumping up and down in front of the people's eyes, in public or other than that, complaining about the condition of the Ummah, the biggest problem concerning the condition of this Ummah is the issue of the Ummah going against the most important and basic principle in Islam, the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And as I mentioned, you brothers come from different backgrounds, different countries, different situations. You go back to where you come from, and shirk billah is something that is normal. It is accepted as being religious. And if we come here, as I mentioned, there's no city in this country except that we have those masajid where the people teach from the minbar that you can make dua to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Right on the walls, right on the windows, right on the wall of the masjid. Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's the first issue. And the most important issue, and the most dangerous issue. So as I mentioned, the time right now is the time of elucidation, the time of rectification, informing the Ummah, informing and educating people that we're connected to about the evil of ash-shirku billah. As long as this is the condition with the Muslims, Allah knows best until when the subjugation is going to last. Because the Ummah of Islam, they lost that particular contract with Allah Azza wa Jal. Number two, from our Ummah, as well as outside of the Ummah, but from our Ummah. Why the subjugation? Well, Allah mentioned in the Kitab and the Prophet in the authentic Sunnah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyone who opposes Allah and opposes His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's going to be a form of subjugation. Anyone who opposes Allah or opposes, and he makes an muhadda against Allah and His Messenger, there's the issue of being subjugated. He mentioned in the Quran, again, Ikhwani, in Surah Al-Mujadala, one of the smallest surahs in the 29th juz of the Quran, ayah number 29 or 21, Allah Ta'ala mentioned, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُحَادُّونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْأَذِلِّينَ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُحَادُّونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْأَذِلِّينَ. Those people who oppose Allah and they oppose the Messenger of Allah, they're the individuals who will be subjected to being lowly and being debased. Now the natural question that presents itself is, what about the non-Muslims? They oppose Allah, they oppose the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are abased in that you'll find anyone who allows himself to worship other than Allah, he didn't use his intellect. People who worship graves, people who worship human beings, people who worship Isa ibn Maryam, a cross, people who worship these issues, they are abased. Non-Muslims who make the qada of their hajj, they go to the toilet, they use the bathroom, they don't know how to clean themselves, that's abased. People, a man marrying a man, a woman marrying a woman, that's abased. Abased doesn't always mean necessarily that they're not ruling. In the case of the Ummah of Islam, the rule was usurped and snatched away from them because of the contract that they had with Allah, that we have with Allah, like Bani Israel, they had a contract with Allah Azza wa Jal. When they broke that contract, they were made to be subjugated under the subjugation of their enemies. Same thing that happened with them happened to this particular Ummah. So not only did the Muslims lose the place of prominence and they became abased, but in addition to that, we also follow those people in many of the things that they're going to do, and many of the things that they're doing right now. They are those people today who wage war against Allah and His Messenger, from the Muslims, like the Quilliam Foundation, and people who are like that. Those people are brought forth all the way and all the time, doing the contemporary issues that we're dealing with right now, and they are put forward as being the expert speakers on behalf of Al-Islam. And when they speak, anyone who has a miniature amount of knowledge of Islam knows that those people are representing what is against the Kitab and what is against the Nabi's Sunnah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. End result of that for the one who does it is adillatu, and being down and downtrodden and abased in the dunya before the hereafter. In addition to that is the authentic hadith of the authority of Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that's been collected by Imam al-Tirmidhi as well as Abu Dawood, from the issues that causes this ummah to be abased and to be down and to be low. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inni bu'ithtu bayna yaday sa'ati bis-sayf hatta yu'bad Allah wahdahu wa ju'ila rizqi tahta dhil rumhi wa ju'ilat as-sighar wa dhilla tahta man khalafa amri wa man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhu. He said that I have been sent close to Yawm al-Qiyamah with the sword. I've been sent close to Yawm al-Qiyamah with the sword. And my sustenance has been made under the shade of my spear. And lowliness and subjugation has been put upon those people who go against my sunnah. Anyone who follows a group of people, then he is from those group of people. This hadith is a tremendous hadith from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It speaks about 4 different categories of people and 4 different things that are happening. I've been sent close to the hour with the sword. The ulama of Islam, for the Muslim who doesn't know, if you're asked a question, there are many signs of the hour, many. What is the first one? The very first sign of the hour is that Allah sent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when he came out in Mecca, that was the first sign of Yawm al-Qiyamah. He said, I've been sent with the sword. The meaning of being sent with the sword is not sent with the sword in order to force people to become a Muslim, or sent with the sword in order to be barbaric and to spill and shed blood all over the place. The next portion of the ayah explains what does it mean sent with the sword. I've been sent with the sword so that Allah will be worshipped by himself. So the legislation of the sword and what it's used for, and jihad, is for the worship of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's not for the mere spilling of blood or fitna or fasad. Even in the case of the Muslims protecting themselves when they have to defend themselves, and they pull out the sword or weapons to defend themselves, their defense is an attempt to preserve the Islam that they have, which comes from the preservation of their lives and so forth and so on. So the legislation of jihad and waging war in al-Islam, the goal and the objective of that is to preserve life, to preserve the deen. So if we see that people are claiming that they're making jihad where they mar the deen, they blacken the deen, they give it bad understanding or impression of the deen, and that's not jihad in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jalla. As for the interpretation of non-Muslims, if Muslims were to wage jihad in the proper way, the proper context, proper time, so forth and so on, and the non-Muslims were to say, look at those Muslims, they're harming the people, they're killing the people, then we don't look at that interpretation, not at all. Because again, in waging jihad in its proper concepts in the proper context, then it is for the spread and the development of al-Islam. So the point here, Khwani, is not what we see and not what we hear from many of these groups who are claiming jihad. We don't apologize about the legislation of al-jihad in the cause of Allah. It is a reality. So now when we sit to think and to figure out why are the Muslims in the condition that we're in right now, one of those issues and reasons is, we have to come to that conclusion based upon the text, is the abandonment of al-jihad. But in explaining this hadith, I've been sent close to the hour with the sword so that Allah will be worshipped. And my wrist has been made to be under my spear. Meaning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to receive 1/5 of the spoils of war. He was not a businessman. He wasn't an individual who had a vocation. He didn't go and do other things like that. His job, his sole purpose was to educate the community. He didn't receive sadaqah from individuals in the community. He didn't take from the people any welfare. His sadaqah came when he used to go out to make and to wage war fi sabilillah. Which shows another issue about the ikhlas and the sincerity of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he was a maniac and he wanted to kill people, he would just kill people indiscriminately. We find that the Sunnah is not like that. Since he didn't have a job, his job was to lead the community. If he wanted to make money, part of his wealth came from the jihad. That's where it came from. So why didn't he just keep fighting everybody far and wide just to be a conqueror and to make a lot of money? He didn't do that because that wasn't the goal and that wasn't the objective. That wasn't his understanding, just to kill people, just for the sake of killing them and getting wealth. He fought against those people who were in opposition to al-Islam. when they stood in the way from preventing the religion from spreading. That's in every case. And then in many other cases other than that, he used to make an afu and give pardon. He will forgive many of the people who stood in his way from the spread of Islam, because those individuals ultimately became Muslims in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So being opposed to the Sunnah. First we mentioned a shirk with Allah. Second we mentioned being opposed to Allah and His Messenger. Right now the third thing for subjugation is being in opposition to the Sunnah. This Ummah is in subjugation because we're in opposition to the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Innovation has become the Sunnah, and the Sunnah has become innovation. People who bring the Sunnah to the community are looked at as being extreme. They're looked at as being stupid. They're looked at as being people who don't know what they're talking about, just from the regular people. Trying to practice the Sunnah, trying to practice Islam correctly on the Sunnah. It's what he tells his relatives, the environment he comes from. The people say, he's shadid, she's shadid, overboard. As a result of that, there's subjugation. وَمَنْ خَالَفَ أَمْرِي, anyone, الذِّلَّ وَالصِّغَارِ, lowliness and being downtrodden, has been put over the one who goes against my Sunnah. And then the last part of the hadith is important as well. He culminated and ended that with a statement, وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. And anyone who resembles a people, he's with them. He's from those people. So the one who opposes the Sunnah, he opposes the Sunnah and he goes along with non-Muslims. Anyone who resembles a people, he's from them. If you go to the Arab world right now, the Arab world, from the Sunnah that is wajib upon every Muslim man, and it's something that if you say it in most masjids, people will look at you like you're crazy. From the Sunnah, which is wajib, is that no Muslim man should wear anything below his ankle bones. I'm not judging anyone. Because we mix with these kuffar, we're in the West, wearing something below your ankle bone is something people don't even consider. And when they hear that issue, and there are other issues like it, right away the person's mind goes to, it's not an important issue. It's considered from the major sins in Islam. Anyway, if you go to the Muslim world, when people used to wear their thobes above their ankle bones 10 years ago in the Muslim world, the people used to say, he's astray, he's rough, he's tough, look at him, he's going to blow something up, he's from the Irhabiyin, this and this and that and this and that. When the non-Muslims came, and the non-Muslims, you go to Philadelphia today, New York, New Jersey, right now, today, you'll find many non-Muslims in Philadelphia wearing jeans halfway up their legs or above the ankles. You'll find that. Many of them have beards, many of them. When this issue from the hip-hop culture went to the Arab world, the shabab of the Arab at that time, in Arabia, Medina, Mecca, Jeddah, places like that, they started to shorten their pants. Why? Because the kuffar did it. When the Sunnah told them you should do this thing, it wasn't a big thing. But when the kuffar told them you should do this thing, now it's something that you find the youngster implementing. This is being, again, in mukhalafa, or in opposition to the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there are many more issues similar to that. Things that the Sunnah said, don't do this and do it this way. And they're normal. Normal. If you introduce your community to that particular issue, people in the community who want Islam to go forward will say, don't talk about that thing right now. Because if you spoke about that, that's going to divide the people. This is a condition of the Ummah. As a result of that, we find ourselves in the condition that we're in. From that hadith is another very important hadith. One of the great ulama of Islam, Ikhwani, during our particular time that we're living is no doubt and no other than Al-Imam Al-Albani. Al-Albani, he had a project in the books that he used to write, in the talks that he used to make when people used to come to visit him, and in his instruction that he told to those people that he taught. And that project was called At-Tasfiyah wa Tarbiyah. At-Tasfiyah wa Tarbiyah. We were saying that the Ummah is in need of this issue of At-Tasfiyah, purifying a lot of the things of what have become beliefs to the Ummah, purifying that, cleaning it up, letting the Ummah know. Not every time you hear a hadith, the Prophet said this, the Prophet said that, it was actually said. But knowing the difference between an authentic hadith and the importance that you can only take the authentic hadith over the hadith that is weak, at-tasfiyah, cleaning up what people understand. What tarbiyah is the development on Islam, the needed development that the Muslims have. And the reason why he came up with this idea is, again, there are many groups from amongst the Muslims who are trying to rectify this condition of subjugation that we have. So some people come and they say, let's rectify the situation by going in a corner and subtracting ourselves from society and making the dhikr of Allah. Huwa, 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 Allah, Allah, Allah. And if we make the dhikr of Allah, then mysteriously, magically, everything will change. Because a group of people did that. The people who were involved in political Islam, their way is being emotional, encouraging the people to establish the Khilafah, for example, and other than that. But the community, as we mentioned, we believe the way we believe, we're doing what we're doing. So with the many groups that are out there are many, many. He said that the Ummah was in need of this issue of tasfiyah wa tarbiyah. He used to use a hadith all the time, that shows the condition of the Muslims, and is from what has caused subjugation as well. The Prophet, he mentioned, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our Nabi, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْإِينَةِ, if you people start to engage in riba, if riba becomes prolific amongst you and it becomes normal and common, وَأَخَذْتُمْ أَذْنَابَ الْبَقَرِ, and you started to take, like, being overindulgent in your domestic animals, like cows and sheep, this becomes the most important thing to you. وَرَدِيتُمْ الزَّرَعَ, and you became busy in agriculture. وَتَرَكْتُمْ الْجِهَادِ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا وَلَا يَنْزِعُهُ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. And if you people abandon the jihad fi sabilillah, Allah will cause you people to be subjugated and lowly, and He won't return you back to your place of prominence until you return to your religion. So all of those issues that were mentioned in this hadith, this condition of the Muslims today, in that we have become over-occupied with the dunya, the issue of the dunya. Whether that dunya is agriculture, whether it is domestic animals that people with, or whether it is a riba, which is the dominant, the predominant way of dealing in business today, and the abandonment of al-jihad. That hadith again shows, as we mentioned earlier, it's not possible for the Muslim today in this climate to downplay the position of al-jihad. It's not possible. Because again, if we're going to sit and we're going to think about the condition of the Muslims from the text of the Sunnah of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quran, that type of issue is going to present itself, and as a result of that, in rectifying the condition, we have to embrace it. But again, we have to always mention, issue of jihad is always understood in its context. A place for it, a time for it, a people for it, the ahkam that come with it, and so forth and so on. It's just not something that is ashwa'i, something that is without any nizam. It's just folder, confusion, like we have today. This is not the issue. But at the same time, theoretically, these hadith don't allow us to mention it. Lastly, or doesn't allow us to forget it, and it causes us to mention it. The last hadith, Ikhwani, or the last issue, and there are many, is that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentioned the prominence of arrogance and the role that it plays in making people lowly. Arrogance is not something like many people think. People who have money, they're the ones who are arrogant. But he told us in Islam, arrogance is not having money. He said that arrogance is rejecting the truth and looking down upon people. That's the prophetic definition of arrogance. He said no one will enter into the Jannah, the one who has an iota of kibr. لن يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة كبر. No one will enter to the Jannah who has just a minute amount of kibr. When the man heard that, he said, but Rasulullah, I like to have nice clothes. I want to look nice, and I want to represent. Nice shoes. I want all my stuff to match. I want designer stuff. I want my stuff to be nice. Not haram from silk or gold or other than that, but just expensive, nice stuff. Is that kibr? He said, no, that's not kibr. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. From the characteristics of Allah is He loves beauty. All you have to do is look at His creation and the beauty that He put in His creation. And He loves beauty. So if Allah has given someone the means and the ways to buy expensive things, Allah loves to see that on the individual. That's a hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. إن الله يحب أن يرى أثر نعمته على عبده. Allah loves to see the effects of the ni'mah that He gave to a slave. So if a person has the money and he wants to buy a brand new Mercedes Benz because it's a good car, it's a reliable car, it's permissible. If he has the money and he wants to beautify his house with nice furniture, his clothes, very nice, above the standards that he's used to around him, he sees it. If he has the ability to do that, but he's not looking down on people to do it. His ability doesn't come from haram, he has the ability. When he does it, he doesn't call hasad and haq, envy, jealousy amongst the other people. People look at him. He's not doing it to stand out so that people point their fingers to him. He just likes nice stuff, expensive perfume. He brought a watch for 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 pounds because he has that kind of money. If he has that, Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. That's not haram. No one can come and say to someone, can't buy a watch for 20,000 pounds. If he has that ability and he likes that, and he's not making himself above people, and he's not, and all of that stuff. It's permissible. So the man said, Ya Rasulullah, no one goes into Jannah if he has in his heart a small amount of kibr. He said, but I like my clothes to be nice. He said, Allah is beautiful and Allah loves beauty. That's not kibr, to like nice stuff. He said, and kibr, batrul haq, wa ghamtun nas. Kibr is when the truth comes to you, you reject it. And kibr is looking down on people. So if a person has nice things and he doesn't look down on people, that's not kibr. Kibr is rejecting the truth. I don't care how nice and humble the person appears or he comes off. If he rejects La ilaha illallah, he's mutakabbir. Many people don't look at Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, individuals like this who are working for peace. Nelson Mandela, they look at those people, this is a humble person. Anyone who rejects La ilaha illallah, and that's been planted in his fitrah, and he comes and he rejects Islam, he has a sign of kibr, because kibr is rejecting the truth. So no matter how humble the non-Muslim happens to be, but that's not exclusive to the Muslim. The Muslim also rejects the truth. He's a simple person, a normal person. He has a normal car. He doesn't even have a car. When you sit with him, he comes across as being humble. But when you present the proofs to him, the Quran, the Sunnah, you present the truth that goes against his madhab, that goes against his jama'ah, that goes against his thinking, and he rejects it. That's a sign of kibr. Kibr is, according to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rejecting the truth and what people think it is, looking down upon people. Kibr is looking at someone and saying, he's darker than me, so as a result of that, I'm better than him. I have a better job than him. I have a better position than him. And based upon that, the individual looks down from above on that individual. That's kibr. Because Allah ultimately is the one who knows who's better than the next one. لا تزكوا أنفسكم هو أعلم بمن اتقى. Do not praise yourselves. No one should look at himself as being above the other people, because Allah knows those of you who are best. No one is in a position to say. He gives the khutbah, as a result of that, he's better than the next one or the next one. Because no one knows what people are doing. No one knows what people are doing. So we should have good opinions about each other. The elder should be respected. The one in position of authority should be respected. The one who memorized the Quran, he should be respected. But we can't exist and we say, the one who is older, the one who memorized the Quran, automatically he's better than everybody else. لا تزكوا أنفسكم. Don't praise yourselves. هو أعلم بمن اتقى. Allah knows best who has taqwa. Now, don't be foolish and take the extreme to the other way, where the person says, I have no respect for no Muslim because I don't know what you're doing. So therefore I'm going to treat every Muslim like, no, the elder I'm going to treat him like a kid. The one who memorizes the Quran, I'm going to treat him like a criminal because I don't know what anyone is doing. The ayat is talking about, don't exist in a way where you yourself feel and think that you're better than other people because you're practicing, they're not practicing. You fed the community, they didn't feed the community. You gave the khutbah, they didn't give the khutbah. You memorized Quran, they didn't memorize the Quran. Don't exist in that type of way. And also, don't be one of those individuals who's saying, my group is the right group and everybody else's group is the wrong group because for whatever reason. When it comes to Kitab and Sunnah, that understanding is the best understanding. But people who are claiming to apply the Quran and the Sunnah, Allah knows best what is the reality of everybody's situation. So al-kibr is from the reasons of lowliness. And the tarkiz, or the emphasis of kibr here, as it relates to our ummah, is kibr is rejecting the truth. Rejecting the truth is commonplace in the ummah. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in an authentic hadith, Yawm al-Qiyamah, those people who are the mutakabbirun, those people who are the arrogant ones, they will be brought together and they will be the size of little seeds. They will be in the image and in the picture of human beings, real men. But they will be overwhelmed, they will be enveloped in lowliness and in debasement. So people who have al-kibr, they rejected the truth, they look down on the people, not just Fir'aun and those people like that. Anyone who rejected the truth, people who look down on people, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they'll be brought forward, they'll be brought together, they'll be the size of little seeds. They'll be engulfed and enveloped by lowliness because of this issue of al-kibr. Okay, Akhwani, there are many other things, like another very important issue that causes lowliness is looking for al-izzah outside of al-Islam. People looking for honor in other than what Allah legislated. So if a person or this ummah, if we're looking to be raised up by other than what has been legislated, the end result of that is to be put down. That means If the Muslims want to be raised up through political parties that have not been sanctioned by Allah Azza wa Jal, even if they win, the price to pay from that is there's going to be a level of dhullah that happens. Muslim women, for an example, want to get their rights and they want to get their position of what they may perceive as being superiority. If they look for that in feminism, women's liberation, and those kinds of movements, then their end result is to be put down. People are claiming jihad today, fighting here, fighting here, blowing people up. You want to blow people up and kill people indiscriminately and unjustly in the wrong way. You want to bring izzah to al-Islam in the wrong way. The end result, the recompense of that is to be brought down because the individual's doing it in the wrong way. There are number proofs of that in the Kitab and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like in the incident that transpired with Ummah ibn al-Khattab when he went to Bayt al-Maqdis and he told the community there when they were doing things or they wanted to do things to show the non-Muslims that the Muslims were strong based upon the way their horses looked and based upon the way their clothes were and so forth and so on. He said that we were Ummah, the Arabs were a group of people who before Islam they were lowly because they were worshiping other than Allah and they were doing crazy stuff, burying their children alive. They were doing all kinds of craziness. He said we were people who were lowly, downtrodden, beneath, and Allah raised us with and by al-Islam. He said anytime that we choose to raise ourselves with other than what Allah raises us with, Allah is going to put us down. And it has a number of positions and statements that say that ayat that prove it. So with that, ikhwani, we all have to strive and struggle, inshallah azza wa jal, to not fall into those categories of people, and also to understand. If you're going to try to apply the medicine to the sickness, we have to understand what is the ilaj. The medicine to the sickness has to be appropriate. So again, going in the corner and making the dhikr of Allah doesn't take away the condition, as well as being political and not really understanding what is politics in the religion of Islam doesn't help. Jihad, where we fight people, kill people indiscriminately, the confusion that comes as a result of what some people are doing, all it does is causes this ummah to be even lower in individuals as well, who are taking in those issues to be low as well. So we should embrace that and we should understand that. Okay, if you have any questions, inshallah, you can put your question or your ta'liq forward. Barakallahu fikum. إذا كان عندكم شيء فليتفضل.